Hey movie lovers, and welcome to today's video. Billions. It's an absolute thriller that managed to cast some of the greatest names in the movie industry, making it one of those great shows that somehow nobody talks about. Why? Honestly, I don't know. In today's video, we're going to be talking about some of those juicy Easter eggs that only those behind the production knew about. Can you have a guess at what some of them are? Stay tuned to learn more. To start it off, did you know that the show is actually based on true-life characters? Crazy, right? The character Axelrod, played by Damian Lewis, is said to be a glamorized version of Stephen A. Cohen, the fund co-founder whose S.A.C. capital was found guilty of insider trading and slapped with a $1.8 billion fine. Appropriately, Rhoades was initially inspired by Preet Bharara, the attorney who pursued Cohen. Watching these two engage in their cat-and-mouse-like rivalry is truly magical. Giamatti also sees a lot of DOJ Special Counsel John Durham in Rhoades. The producers really put a lot of research into the show before casting it. Now, let's talk about everybody's favorite character, Axe. As the 5th season rolled to a close, our beloved bad boy had just been cornered by the great Rhoades, and jail time was just about to befall him. He had to escape to Switzerland to escape his fate, and that's how we lost Axe. Did you know that in a real sense, this end was because Damian's contract had actually come to an end, and production had to figure out the best way to remove Axelrod from the film. The whole production had hopes that he would sign a new contract, but it was not to be. During an interview, it was revealed that Damian wanted to quit the show earlier after 3 years of production. Life in America was really hard for him, and he felt that the jerky character of Axe was actually beginning to get to him. What was really hard for him was actually having to put up an American accent, despite him being British. Acting in America also meant that he would be away from his family for a very long time. Tragedy also befell Damian's life, with him losing his wife, actress Helen McCrory, to breast cancer. He's been left a single parent of 2, and really felt that he had to spend more time with his family, especially after the loss. Will we be seeing Damian again? Let's really hope so. In other not-so-gloomy news, did you know that Billions was the first show to feature a non-binary actor playing a non-binary character? Yes, that's right. The character Taylor Mason, the intern at Axe Capital, whom Bobby spots and mines for their outside-the-box way of thinking, is played by actual non-binary actor Asia Kate Dillon. At any given time, Taylor is usually the smartest person in the room. Did you know how the beloved Taylor came to be? Brian Koppelman actually came up with the idea after noticing a peculiar practice at his child's school, where at the beginning of each semester, the kids were told to identify themselves as their true selves without any pressure to include gender. He shared the story with the show's writers, and it turned out that, conveniently enough, one knew a non-binary person. After interviews with Asia Kate, the character of Taylor was born. We have to admit, they really won a bounty by getting Kate to play the part. Very few actors could have appeared as natural as Kate while playing that role. Now, moving on to another fan favorite, Chuck Rhoades, the attorney for the Southern District. One great revelation is that Rhoades' BDSM obsession was not actually included in the original film. How did it come to be, you ask? According to Billions co-creator Andrew Ross Sorkin, co-creators and showrunners Brian Koppelman and David Levien ended up speaking with escorts for their research writing The Girlfriend Experience in 2009. They were intrigued by how often escorts would describe powerful men wanting to be placed in powerless, submissive positions during sex. This is when they thought, why not include the same in Billions? That is how all of those Rhoades kinks came into play in the film, and how his wife Wendy Rhoades goes out of her way to try and fulfill all of his dark fantasies. Still, on Rhoades' dark fantasies, an astonishing revelation came up that Paul Giamatti actually fell asleep between scenes when shooting some of the bondage scenes. Crazy, right? When asked about it, Giamatti gave the craziest answer. He said that he actually felt very comfortable, more like a baby being swaddled to sleep when tied up. How on earth is being tied up in ropes with a ball in your mouth similar to being swaddled? That's some crazy concept there, Paul. But who knows, maybe the ropes were actually brown silk, which felt comfortable around his wrists and legs. Imagine how funny it must have been for Maggie Siff, who played Wendy. Imagine tying up someone and while preparing to torture them, hear them snoring. Speaking of Rhoades' wife Wendy, did you know that for Maggie Siff to land that spot, the producers had already interviewed almost 100 other actresses, each failing to bring the character to life perfectly? That's right, 100 other actresses failed, and that's how we ended up with the best. Now, to be able to perfectly play the role of Rhoades' dominatrix, Maggie had to seek some professional help. She met and spoke with legendary pep talk giver Tony Robbins for encouragement. She even consulted real-life professional dominatrixes to get tips on what to do correctly to bring out her character Wendy. Crazy, right? We have to admit, in the show, it's hard to tell that she was not experienced in what she did. In other news, the show is famous for its interesting star-studded cameos, ranging from Chef David Chang, Mark Cuban, Omid Malik, and Goldman Sachs CEO David Solomon. There was even a scene when the show included the band Metallica in one of its episodes. I don't know if any of you had noticed that Axe had on a Metallica t-shirt at least once in each season of the show. There was also at least one Metallica song featured in each season of the show. In a later interview with the show's writers, we learned that both of them are some die-hard fans of Metallica, Damien too, which explains the band being featured a lot in the show. And these are not the only stars to be featured in the show. It seems that the producer has a lot of connections with various big names in the world, a really great selling point of the show. Next up, we shall be talking about the Hampshire mansion, used as the home of Damian Lewis's character in the hit US TV series. Did you know that this house actually belongs to Damian Lewis? He had bought it for just about $67 million and offered it to production for it to be used in the film. Crazy, right? One would not expect someone to just freely give up their home to be used in a movie production, especially if the house cost you a whopping $67 million. Anyway, for those interested in large luxury houses, the mansion had recently been put up for sale for about $73 million. So if you have a few million to spare, head on over to Southampton for a quick open house. Let's now talk about a few hiccups during the production. Remember in episode 4 of the 5th season of the show, where Axe had gone back to his hometown to remember the good old days, that scene where he's seen playing basketball outside with a kid as they had a talk. Did you know that the original scene would have been filmed with the two talking on a roof, but the idea was scrubbed away? This was because it would mean having to attach a harness to the kid as a safety precaution, which would then require a ton of money to edit the thing out for the final release. Plus, the weather was a bit chilly that day, and that's when some genius came up with the idea of having the scene acted out on a basketball court. We have to admit, it did work out just great. Finally, let's talk about the show's great attention to detail. Billions creators have a great reputation for taking into account every little detail on the show, ranging from the books the character reads to the kind of decor a certain character loves. It, however, came as a surprise when a certain fan, who is an actual billionaire, called out the show's creators for the kind of plane Axelrod flew in. According to Koppelman, a billionaire wrote to them to praise the show's dedication to the real gilded life, but mentioned he would never be caught dead flying in the sardine can of a plane they put Axe into. This isn't unusual when playing in the sandbox of the ultra-rich, especially as so many of them are fans of the show. As Koppelman noted, only a billionaire would think of a G5 as a starter plane. Juicy stuff, right? However, that's all the time we have for today's video. And be sure to join us in our next video, guys. Also, like and comment below which secret surprised you the most in the comments below. Until next time.